we are going to get into how much we love this show, and I know we both do. What we're going to deal with first is the idiots of the internet so that we can talk about it. It's up at the front here. Them kind of idiots know to leave and never come back to this channel. And then the people who really love the show are left here to enjoy it with us.
Yep.
So, the only complaints I have seen anywhere are people who are unhappy that women and people of color exist in Star Wars. Boo friggin' who.
Yeah.
And I believe it was the Rolling Stone article, which was released before the embargo. So they broke embargo with this article as well, in which they claimed that, I forget how to pronounce his name, your man who plays the main character.
Soul.
Yeah, the actor who plays Soul and was in Squid Game, very, very famous gentleman, Lee Young-jae.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I've butchered that. They were giving him shit because they didn't think his English was good enough. That man learned how to speak English for this role in 4 months.
Which is just impressive.
Forgetting that it's impressive to learn another language in 4 months. Let's be completely clear here. The way language works is you've got base languages. So, like, for us, learning German is actually, in the grand scheme of languages, one of the easiest to learn because our root words are quite similar.
Yeah.
So if a German talks slowly enough to you, you're going to be able to pick up a bit of what they're saying and get the general idea, along with lots of gesturing and stuff.
Yeah.
South Korea and languages like that, completely different in every way, which means he's not just had to learn, like the different words and like the way they're put together is pretty similar. He's had to learn a completely different style of how language goes together, full stop.
Yep.
That is incredibly impressive. He sounds like someone who, English is their second language, but he sounds like someone who's been speaking English as their second language for a few years.
Yeah, and like, I also don't get the hate on, like, cool, he doesn't have like a clean English accent. It's Star Wars.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, what? Like, this is a place where there's aliens and different races. Of course, there's going to be like different accents. Maybe you could play it off as like, he's from a planet that didn't speak English and he had to learn it from Jedi.
Similar to D&D, I believe what we know as English in Star Wars universe is known as like Universal Basic or anything.
Yes, like
he could have come from a country where a planet where that's not really that common. He's had to learn it. Forgetting that, he's completely easy to understand. His pronunciation is fucking phenomenal for a second language learned on short notice, and he gets the emotion through with his delivery with no issues.
Yeah,
that Rolling Stone article was written in such bad faith. I can't even believe it.
It
really upset me.
I don't know how that got approved.
Neither do I. And then the other one, which is a problem caused by people not actually knowing what they're talking about. You have people complaining about the fire on the outside of the ship in the first episode. It's like, you can't have fire in space. Go watch the original trilogy again, and then come back and make that complaint.
Yeah, it's Star Wars. Who cares?
Star Wars have always been so loose with the laws of physics.
Yeah.
Get over yourself. You are just nitpicking to try and claim that Disney Star Wars is worse, when literally we have seen fire on the outside of spaceships in the original trilogy. Get fucked, you massive bellends.
I will say there is one complaint that I think is valid.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you managed to find a decent one.
Can media stop this obsession with the Killmonger haircut?
Yes, no, that is an absolutely fair.
I've seen it, and it's like slowly it's becoming more and more of an issue.
Yeah, there is a big problem with when there's too many white people making a project. They don't have style black hair properly, and as a result, they've learnt like 2 haircuts, and they just have the same 2 haircuts, and that's it. And it's a problem that needs to be addressed. But that isn't an Acolyte exclusive problem.
No,
that's a problem
it's not.
with media in general.
But I've seen it really shine its head because of the show.
Yeah, it's not ideal. However, now let's talk about all the good stuff this show does. Like,
it's so good.
That first fight scene.
Oh, but yeah, the what's the? They've come up with a name for that fighting style, and I've already forgotten what it is.
Is it not just Matrix?
No. So it's like a mix of like kung fu with something.
Oh, like how John Wick has gung fu.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's like force fu or something.
It looks so clean, and I don't know if it's just my brain being a massive nerd, cool, whatever. But seeing the actress who played Trinity show off that fighting style, which is so obviously inspired by that kind of Matrix-esque style. Obviously, there is more impacts, and obviously the stuff that inspired the Matrix has I'm not saying it is directly from the Matrix, but that's where I recognize that kind of
I know what you mean.
choreography from. It just was like a them nodding to it, going, "We're going to do it properly."
Well, yeah, it was such a nice change of pace. There's so many things in the show that is just a nice change of pace for Star Wars. This being one of them, because we're so used to like immediate Jedi going to pulls out lightsaber, has fight that way, bit of force throwing, bit of whatnot, force pushes, but to actually have one where it was like hand-to-hand combat, very defensive combat. Like this is a time where there is no war. It's the golden age for the Jedi. They have no need to immediately go to like aggressive fight. It's like, okay, well, defend and
pacify my enemy.
Yeah, and figure out what's going on here. So seeing like kung fu used in that way with a mix of force and force holds to stop things, to then like playing into the Matrix stuff of the up the stairs move, the wire work, which was like very clearly Matrix-esque. There's also, I think, in Kill Bill, there's like a similar thing where she runs up the stairs. So it's clearly inspired by that stuff. But to, like you say, to have that and it be the actress from Matrix, it's just was such a nice correlation.
Do you know what it really, really was giving?
Go on.
It seems like, so you know how Family Guy is just Seth MacFarlane making jokes about stuff he watched growing up, which is why it's also 80s coded.
Yeah.
This is like someone getting the opportunity to direct Star Wars, and they also loved Kill Bill and The Matrix and stuff like that. And as a result, that's like the basis of what they love, which is absolutely fine. This is no way slander. I'm saying it's actually quite a good thing. It gives so much personality to it. Because like, I love Star Wars, and growing up, all I wanted once I saw The Matrix and Kill Bill was to see that kind of fighting in Star Wars. And now I'm going to be the one who does it. And it worked so well.
Yeah, and it's bringing these different ways to choreograph fights in, which is like a like breath of fresh air to Star Wars.
Absolutely. It was so cool. How quickly did you realize they were twins?
Not quick enough, by the sounds of it, from what some people realized on the internet. I picked up on where would I say that I realized it was twins? I think it was around the point when she was starting to be arrested. And I was like, this doesn't feel right.
I was the exact same.
Probably on the ship when she was struggling to use the Force, I was like, this is no way the same person.
Oh no, not when she was already in prison. It was when she when the door opened and she saw Yord, and she was genuinely happy. I was like, nah, different person. This is something ain't right here. I didn't instantly go, they must be twins.
Yeah.
But I was like, at that point, I was like, don't smell right. Something's off here.
Well, yeah, at first I was like, yeah, I'll say some of it felt weird then, but I was like, is she just acting, like, is her character acting really well, or is it like some weird split personality thing?
That was one of the things I was considering. I was like, is it like literally the light and the dark side are fighting within her? Because we also got like that really harsh wake up cut.
Yes, it was very well done.
Which definitely led to the idea of, is this two sides inside a body competing?
On the fact
we should
have
guessed twins when it's just Star Wars.
Well, yeah, and watching stuff back and seeing clips on the internet and stuff, their hairstyles are actually very different in length and stuff. So there's like, if you're paying enough attention, as soon as you see her, you go, well, that's a different haircut to the first one. So you should pick up on it.
I think as men we get a pass on not noticing different haircuts.
But I think the real point was when she couldn't use the Force. I was like, this is like not the same person.
Even if you think she's like doing a really good job of trying to hide it, when she's on a ship that's going down and she can't
Yeah.
use the Force to save herself, you're like, well, that has to be a different person.
Yeah.
I think the bigger twist to me was that May also thought she was dead.
Yeah, though that makes sense. I kind of like wasn't too surprised by that, because if she thought her sister was dead and she got taken away by the Jedi and whatnot, and this is all presumption at the moment because we're still trying to work out what actually went down. But let's presume her twin was left for dead because Soul said he watched her die. So it's like they clearly knew she was, or what they thought she was done for. If she's not realized her sister's gone with the Jedi, she's going to presume she's dead in whatever she escaped from, if it was almost her own death. So I wasn't too surprised by that.
It is. This is once again one of them things where I'm like, anyone who claims this isn't good Star Wars writing is losing their mind, because this story arc is so George Lucas coded. You could make me believe George Lucas was in the writer's room.
Well,
We've
it's
got
like
two twins who didn't know the other one existed. One's been raised by the light, one's been raised by the dark. So now they're both equally like as interesting, but on the complete different sides of the spectrum. Like, come on, the Jedi are being complacent and dangerous. You've got a mysterious bad guy. George Lucas was in the writer room. I'm telling you, one of them names is a pen name.
It wouldn't surprise. Well, we know he has chats with Dave Filoni like on a weekly basis. So
did Dave work on this at all, though?
I imagine. Well, Dave's creative officer of Star Wars now, so he'll have overseen it. Whether he's like had much, like he might not have been there writing and stuff, but I imagine he's had like overview of it, like giving his thoughts here and there. But something to remember is like this is the High Republic era. This is actually a very new era of Star Wars in the terms of Star Wars content. There's like 3 books out that are set way earlier in this time period, but there's like artwork and stuff, because like a lot of the visual language with the Jedi's robes and stuff is all taken from that, which all looks stunning. Love the visual of like this white, clean, perfectly folded, like pristine look to the Jedi. But yeah, so it's a very open story, and they have a lot of this ability to have a lot of fun and creativity with it. But when I realized it was twins, there's only one other sort of story that I roughly know of twins, which is from the Star Wars Old Republic game, or Star Wars Online Old Republic, or whatever it is, where I only know there's twins in that story because of the cutscenes. They have the really crazy CGI.
Yeah.
And there's one where it's these twin brothers and they're training, and then eventually one of them kind of turns on his brother and kills him, and then the dad accepts the one that killed his brother as like, okay, now you've earned your place as right-hand man. So I think, so there's like
wild.
Yeah, they're raised as like not Sith, but they're clearly not Jedi in whatever the cutscene is. I should probably look into the story of that game. But they're clearly raised as both force-wielding twins, and one proves he's stronger than the other by accidentally, well, in a like reactionary manner, reacts and then realizes he's just killed his twin. So it's like seeing Force twins got me very excited, because I'm like, ooh. And the fact that, like you say, light and dark, we're gonna get some like clash here of both sides.
Here's the thing, and like this isn't a me thing. This is something someone said, and I've read up on. People are pretty confident that the twins are a Force dyad.
Okay.
So, like how in the sequels, Kylo and Rey kept on having like visions of one another, and they were so intricately linked. We're getting these visions between the girls, and also the speech that they finish, which is like the one of you, one of me, together we are the same, or whatever it is. I forget the speech. Is like the way it's written is very much got like Force dyad under. So a lot of people are like, are they a Force dyad, and that's going to end up being like really important? And is that why that Sith Lord or whoever it is has taken so much interest in Maya, because they're like, if I can get you under my thumb, I can get both of you, and having a Force dyad under me is like incredibly powerful.
Well, I mean, let's go on to the Sith, mysterious Sith being who we get revealed at the end of episode 1, and that little like speech monologue, little like bit he's doing where we get the on the rocks, whatever. Because it's through a mask and it sounded slightly distorted, and it's the way, I don't know, just the style of language gave me kind of Ultron vibes when he's having
No, I
that
see
like
that.
conversation with Vision at the end, and they're having that like philosophical sort of discussion. But there's a few theories as to who this is, because at this period of time, although the Sith were unknown to be about, to the Jedi at least, there's still the rule of 2 in Force at this point. Like this is the rule of 2 had been around for a while at this point.
I'm very much in the shadows, not making any noise. They're plotting and planning.
So, because this period is like right after the Jedi defeated a big Sith thing, they're presumed all gone. There is no fear of the dark side or anything anymore. So that's why they've become complacent to it. So we know from Palpatine in the prequels, he tells Anakin about Darth Plagueis. Tells a story about Darth Plagueis, the Wise, whatnot.
Sorry, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis,
the tragedy, who was killed by his apprentice, which was Palpatine, and he's telling a story about his own master. Plagueis would have been about around this time, and would make sense for him to be the catalyst for the downfall of the Jedi.
Looking for some powerful twins and shit, yeah.
Or there's a slight chance it could be Darth Plagueis' master, Darth Tenebros, I don't know how to say his last name, who, again, was betrayed by his apprentice, as is the way with the Sith.
Well, that's like how the Sith think they get stronger, isn't it? It's like, I'm going to be stronger than my master, who was stronger than his master. I will make it so that you get stronger than me, and you can eventually kill me. And as a result, the Sith will become this ultimate power, because we're like always getting stronger than the previous generation.
Now, I think it leans more to Plagueis, because the way this is they're probably trying to condense storylines a little bit, so it would make more sense for this to be Plagueis, and it would make sense that he's trying to recruit a powerful Force user to be his apprentice so that he can then overrule his master and then has a new rule of 2. If it is Plagueis, that means, twins in danger, because they clearly don't become his apprentice. We know that becomes Palpatine.
Yeah.
There's also a small chance this could be a new character. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone we know.
As we always know, the Sith believe in the rule of 2, but the Sith are also sneaky and conniving, so it doesn't mean that there is just one pairing.
Yeah, like, there was the rule of 2, but, I mean, we know Darth Maul was still rocking about secretly with half a body. He was still a Sith. He just wasn't an apprentice or anything anymore.
Exactly.
But to the chance that it could be someone unknown, or this could also be who plays one of these characters. Sam Witwer was in the credits.
I'm convinced at this point they just put Sam Witwer in the credits of everything, just so people like me and you go,
possibly. And it could be like the age-old thing of like one of his voice lines was used as a whispery noise in the background. Like, who knows?
They locked him in the building at fucking.
He might even have an agreement that he's got to be on all the credits.
Like, put me on the credit for everything, and then just like ask me to read a script just to make sure everything is grammatically correct.
I'm still gonna hope, because obviously we don't know who. Like, if he's the one under the mask, very exciting.
That'd be very, very cool. It's also, I thought, worth mentioning, if that is Darth Plagueis.
Yes.
that might make sense as to why there's so much pressure on May to get to kill a Jedi without a weapon. Because the way Palpatine, like in the Clone Wars, they always spoke about how Palpatine doesn't like using his lightsaber because he's all about I'll beat the Jedi without it with mind games and stuff. So maybe that was something he learned from Plagueis. It's like if you need your lightsaber to beat them, the Jedi will always beat you. They can practice for too long. There's too many of them. You need to be able to beat them without your lightsaber, and maybe that's his way of like testing them. Obviously, you've got the metaphorical side of you've got to be conniving, you've got to be smarter, but also it's a good way of getting rid of anyone who's too weak within the Force.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Obviously, he has that little speech about an Acolyte kills without a weapon, an Acolyte will destroy the Jedi. May's obviously taken that as, oh, I can't use a weapon, I've got to kill them hand-to-hand Force.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he means at all when he said that speech to her. He 100% just means an Acolyte, basically them existing in the shadows and killing the Jedi. Essentially, them just existing is killing the Jedi without a weapon because they're going to make the Jedi crumble from within.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like this, but she's obviously not quite realized that yet. But I think, like you say, it could also link to why Palpatine doesn't like a weapon and stuff. So it all sort of leans that way.
Did you watch The Good Place?
No.
Cool. So Good Place fans will, like me, have been kicking their feet and squiddling like a little girl when we saw Jason from The Good Place, who played May's like dude that was helping her out.
Oh,
he played Jason in The Good Place, who was like the village idiot but very lovable. Seeing him do a bit of like proper non-comedic acting was lit. That was I recognized him instantly, but then he wasn't talking like a dumbass. So I was like, wait, is it?
I mean, I really enjoyed his character.
He was really, really cool. Also, a lot of people, when he like dodged May's attack, a lot of people were like, what's the rest of his story? There's more going on there if he's ready for that.
Well, he also talks about like the master, so he obviously has interacted with this guy. So he's obviously something extra there.
And is it also worth considering, while we're still kind of tangentially talking about the rule of two, he's not called her his apprentice. Is that potentially a Sith way of trying to find an apprentice and just going, oh, I'll just have a bunch of acolytes?
Well, yeah.
So maybe Sidious is another one of his acolytes out there somewhere. And he's just at the minute he's testing all of his acolytes to see who could be his apprentice.
Yeah, Palpatine probably wouldn't be. Oh, he might. I don't think he'd be quite. But no, because this is 100 years before the start, and he was like 80-ish, I think. 78.
He was 88 when he died.
So,
and that was 4 ABY.
Yes, so I don't think he'd be quite born yet.
He's probably not quite there yet. Okay.
But still, like, I know what you mean. Like, she's not an apprentice yet. It's almost like he's trying to find someone who can prove themselves strong enough to then become the apprentice.
It would also be a very Sith thing.
Oh, yeah.
To train up the twin. To be the counterpoint to the Jedi twin. To try and break the Jedi twin who they think is more powerful to seduce the Jedi. Like, he doesn't want May. He just wants May to break her sister so that he can take the sister under his wing.
I think it's more open than that. He knows they're powerful. One of them, either of them will be strong. He just needs to break one of them, and either he's going to make May strong enough and get her to a point where Osha tries to stop her and she kills her twin. He basically needs them to kill the other one because that will be the breaking point that turns them to the dark side. So it's like, to him, it's whichever one does it, he knows then he can twist them. I
did see one very funny meme. And it was like, you've got Sol, Yord, and I forget Sol's new Padawan's name.
And they're like, Jackie.
Jackie, yeah. So you've got Sol, who's the old, tired, wiseful master. You've got Yord, who's the young, energetic, eager to prove himself Jedi Knight. And you've got Teki, who's the, like, sassy Padawan. It's like,
Mhm.
welcome back, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because
I will say,
and this is
none
why it's
annoys me
so
though.
Star Wars. Yord is. I saw someone and they described it really well. It was Yord is annoying, but in a really kind of way. Like you don't want to hate him, but you are like, okay, just simmer down a little bit. You give him
He's
more chances.
he's the suck up, and it annoys me
Yeah,
because it's like,
absolutely.
who are you trying to suck up to right now? Stop it.
But does it not also show like the problem of the Jedi Order starting to build? It's like, so why do Jedi's care so
Well,
much? Like they shouldn't care so much about what others think of them. The whole point of the Jedi is they're supposed to be
mm,
separate from that.
but this is like, so this is golden era for the Jedi. They are essentially the church because
Yeah.
they have Jedi stationed in different places. Like, notice at the beginning when she's like, "Where's your Jedi?" So there's Jedi stationed in planets. That is where they reside to spread the message of the. So, like, to be a Jedi Knight is seen as this noble, and he's like fully like
Oh, he's drinking the
bought in,
Kool-Aid.
yeah, fully drinking the Kool-Aid. I love Jackie, like you say, being like that sort of playful, kind of pokes fun at people, still like innocent, because this is the first time in a long time we are getting a Padawan that is not being trained during time of war.
Yeah.
So, like,
It's
not
so
scarred
interesting.
by war and has just this freedom to look at everything with a bit more of an open eye, question things a bit more.
And I guess her training is also a little bit more teaching focused and less please don't die in a war focused.
Yeah, it's less, right, let's learn how to fight droids. It's,
Yeah.
let's solve this little mystery and find
Yeah.
out what's going on.
So it's going to be really interesting to see how that gets played into, and I'm actually really excited for that because,
mm,
like you say, we've never really got someone who's learning the ways of the Force, not in the middle of a war.
yeah.
So I'm really curious to see how that goes.
Something as me, you, and Luke have talked about as this episode was coming out was Yoda, because
Mm.
the end of episode 2 is like, which also made me laugh, is like they've figured out what's going on, and so I was like, we need to go to we know who's going to be targeted. Why are we not just going to tell them? And it's like, no, we must have a meeting about this. This is the Jedi way. We must gather the council. To which people are like, oh, so Yoda, he'll be kicking about. But the showrunner said he's not in. We won't be seeing Yoda. That could either be a red herring to make us be excited to see Yoda, or they genuinely don't want to put Yoda in. To which then it's like, well, we were trying to work out, would he be Grandmaster yet?
So I've just done a
Like,
little bit of googling, and it looks like the Acolyte said 100 years before Phantom Menace, which
yep,
was 32 BBY,
yep. So it's around
which means
132.
132 BBY. It looks like best guesstimate Yoda was the Grandmaster by 82 BBY, which is about 50 years in the
Yeah,
future.
so
It could have been a little bit earlier than that, because obviously we don't have a full timeline. But it's well within reason that he's not quite there yet.
the weird thing is, it's like, yeah, so because I looked into it as well, and it's like the first time you hear him talk about being Grandmaster is 82, and I think the line is something like he won this title in a raffle, is how he words it. Which is obviously like something obviously happened, and essentially he was voted to be Grandmaster whether he wanted to be or not. But then there's like, I think the only other time I mention we hear from him is like 200 BBY, which he says he's in a senior position, but he doesn't say Grandmaster. So it's like it
So
happens.
he's on the council by then.
Yeah, so he would be like one of the top Master Jedi, but Grandmaster is just generally was either the oldest person on the council or the most powerful. Sometimes it could be the most powerful, but then the oldest kind of dethrones them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like, if Yoda, like whoever it is now, maybe Yoda gets old enough to the point where it goes, hang on, no, Yoda should be Grandmaster now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Another counter I said to that, which also made sense, was we're getting kind of, again, I've robbed this from Twitter, but it made me laugh. We know what you did last summer vibes from the Jedi. Like, they clearly did something they're not proud of.
Well, yeah.
So my point was almost, maybe they're keeping it very quiet so the Jedi Council don't know too much, and maybe that's why Yoda would show no interest, because we know the era of complacency is going to start creeping in, and maybe they're just trying to keep it all stum because they know they've messed up.
It's... We'll see when we see this council meeting, like, if it's a big council meeting, and it'll kind of be like, where's Yoda? Or even if he's just... I'm happy if he's just name dropped. It's like, oh, Yoda's busy doing something because he's not Grandmaster. Yeah. He's on an assignment somewhere. Who knows? But yeah, they're clearly the Jedi have been up to something. We saw that with the... I've forgotten his name. The one that was in the meditative force field state, which was very cool.
Thorin?
Something like that. Thorbin, maybe. Yeah. I thought that was very cool that he was just meditating there and he had like a force field. Also,
guy was locked in.
Very well shot with his robes and using the robes and the design look of them to hide the practical effect of how he was floating there.
I'm sure that was an uncomfortable seat to sit on.
Well, it's like those people that do it in the street, right?
Yeah, and they're uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, but they'll do it between... Like, he's not on it for hours and hours. He's just going to make do for a few... On and off.
I'd have left there for the entire season. But lock in, you're actually meditating.
But yeah, I thought that was very cool, and that whole... him kind of like understanding that, yeah, I did do something wrong. Apparently, so that... What he was in was... I read a thing, I think it was on Twitter or something. That is a oath that some Jedi have taken as punishment for something they deemed they did wrong. So there's been like 2 other, like, in legends, whether this is canon or not, in books, of people... there's a name for it because it was named after the first person that did it, but essentially they feel regret for something they did or something, so they go into a strong meditative... Like, they give up all Jedi... they give up all Jedi duties and go into this state as a way to reconnect with the Force and, like, pay for what they've done. So it's pretty cool that they've pulled that from the, like, legend stuff. Cool. And used it in a way that he did something wrong and then he took the poison to get himself out of it.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see. And we are completely right. It's definitely sitting on this mysticism but not afraid to be political spectrum. Like you're seeing the politics of the Jedi Order, but it's got the mysticism of stuff like anyone like myself who's just watched films and TVs and never read any of the books. We're going to see the man in the meditative coma and we're going to be like, the fuck is that? What's the dog doing?
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very cool. I'm so excited for when.
It's going to be very good, and like seeing the way that they're trying to cover it up, that it's going on. It's very much going to be like this murder mystery sort of political game, while also there's the mysticism of the Sith are coming back. And we also should mention the final moment of episode 2, which was the Wookiee Jedi.
Yeah, I again. Feet were kicking like a child. You know how I feel about the Wookiees. They're awesome.
As soon as I saw the shot of the forest, I was like, we're in Wookiee territory here. I was so excited for it. Apparently those scavengers were talking the Hutt language.
Yeah, Huttese.
So
yeah. Wait, you don't watch with subtitles? Rookie.
I think I do. I just didn't read that it said Huttese.
Yeah, it said Huttese straight away. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah,
which
makes sense.
We could see a Hutt maybe in this.
Yeah. But it also makes complete sense. We know the Hutts run all the crime syndicates and stuff. They're out there scavenging illegally. It makes complete sense they'd be speaking Huttese.
But yeah, the way he grabbed the gun with the Force and then snapped it like a Wookiee does, I was like, yep, this is very cool.
I'm not being funny. I'm one of them idiots who I'd see a bear in the wild. And I'm like, shit, that thing might eat me. But at the same time, I'm like, it's kind of cute. I want to give it a hug. That's how I feel about Wookiees. They're fucking terrifying, but my God, they look so fluffy. And what if it's like Chewbacca and wants to be my best friend? If I saw a Wookiee growl at me and then use the Force to fuck me up, I would stop praying to every god, old and new, for forgiveness. Because that must be the most terrifying thing possible to experience.
They're bad enough as it is without having the Force at their arsenal.
They're so the Wookiees are in class.
Fun fact about this one: it's the same guy that ended up playing Chewbacca in the suit in the sequel films.
Oh, that's cool.
Same younger guy who like obviously took over doing the practical side of things, so he's now playing this Wookiee.
Awesome. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I was going to say. I'm looking forward to the rest of the action in this show.
Yeah.
We're going to get to build some really cool fights. I like that, as we said before, because it's not a time of war, Jedis are a little bit more reserved in like maiming and killing, which means they're a little bit more reluctant to bring their lightsaber out. Yes. Which is giving us a lot of room to do more interesting fights, and also still have lightsabers incorporated.
Yeah, well, saw
it all sits nicely within the lore while giving us a more visually appealing fight, which is just kiss.
Well, yeah, and we know from the teaser trailer that they fight the Sith guy at some point as a group, and you know that fight's gonna be good. Like, just very think excited. One Sith taking on like 4 Jedi.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And Yord is gonna get exposed as a fraud.
Bro was so quick to pull his lightsaber at any point as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Also loving...
You know that... You know in like a fight scene where you've got multiple on one guy and the one guy's gonna win, you get that one idiot who runs in ahead of everyone and gets dealt with. That is going to be Yord, Write it down now. Yord is going to be the guy who charges the Sith Lord first and gets fucked up.
Why do I feel like Yord's going to absolutely... We're all hating him, and then he's going to like show off some impeccable swordsmanship skills with his lightsaber, and we're going to be like, yeah, fair play.
I fully expect Yord's arc to be idiot Jedi who doesn't understand what being a Jedi actually means. It's just that's what he's always been. Into like lovable guy that if anyone says anything bad about, I'm ready to fight them. That's what I expect Yord's arc to be.
I think it's going to be he's sipping the Kool-Aid and then he's going to realize, wait, the Kool-Aid's not actually what I thought it was.
Yeah, right now he's just doing what he's told, and he's going to realize that actually being a Jedi does mean thinking and questioning things and trying to understand the Force within yourself, not just reciting what you've been told.
Yeah.
I also thought it was very interesting that it shone a bit of a light on what happens to people who don't make it as Jedis. Bearing in mind, we know the Jedi Order went around essentially kidnapping children. Essentially.
Yeah.
Do all them kids get reconnected with their family? And how does that go? Like, let's be clear here. The Jedi Order teaches kids from the second they get their hands on them, ideally at like the age of like 3, no emotions, no connection, shut yourself off. What, you're going to get to like 16, fail your exams or whatever, not be allowed to continue being part of the Jedi Order. And if you're lucky and your family's still alive, you can maybe go back and find them. But you spent your entire life being basically taught to not have any emotional connection to anything.
The Jedi aren't the good people here, so...
No. This is the... But like, in reality, what the Jedi Order in this time period are creating, it's an autism factory. Come in here, don't look anyone in the eyes, don't have any emotions, and now go back to your family.
It's also interesting that like Osha was able to walk away a lot easier than like Ahsoka was. So the time, like at this point, they're like welcoming people in and bringing obviously kids in, but they're also, if it's not working, and they will make a decision as well, like they'll let them walk away from it. It's not like this sacred thing of like, no, once you're in, you need to stay in sort of attitude.
It's very, very interesting for sure.